Woo-hoo-hoo. Hey, good morning, everybody. How we doing? It's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday Monday. Is what I call it.
I know. I've been calling it not Monday.
Tuesday Monday. I called Carrie at my office, my director of operations, said Happy Monday just to see if she was paying attention. So there you go.
Did she catch it?
It took like there was a 3-second delay. It's almost like a sports, the 3-second delay. A little bit like Facebook Live today, there's a 7-second delay. If people want to know, there's a 7-second delay between what we're saying on the radio and what's actually happening on Facebook Live, right? So it's in 7 seconds we could turn time back. It's a weird time travel thing, right? What if you could turn back time 30 seconds, Andy? Would there be a moment in your life? Oof.
30 seconds? No.
Man.
10 years maybe.
Yeah, 10. 10 years. Hey, I've got a really cool guest in here this morning. And here's the thing with this guy, all right? He's very, truly, this is me saying it, not him. He's modest. And he would not want me to make a big deal. This is going to be my favorite guest of all time. And it's kind of a last minute addition. So we've been on the air here, Jeremy Larkin here, host of the Life as We Know It program. But I'm also the host of of course, St. George Real Estate Morning Drive, Thursdays at 8:30. We've been filling some space here. Cherry Creek was without a show on Tuesday mornings. And I think someone's coming in Tuesday mornings. It sounds like that's forthcoming.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a secret. Brandon Hansen, who does this show every other Friday, is now going to slide over to Tuesday and do it every Tuesday. Which opens up every other Friday.
Yeah. So there you go. So there may be some continuation on Fridays, but this is going to be my favorite guest here this morning, and it's because it's my father. Nice. Everybody, listen to the crowds. Rah. Dad, good morning.
Good morning.
Did you get your golf in yesterday?
I did, and I had a great time.
Where did you guys play at?
Over at Sky Mountain.
All right. Sky Mountain Golf Course.
Love the views out there.
Oh, it's incredible.
Beautiful. It's really one of the most beautiful golf courses around.
Did the wind blow?
No, it was a beautiful day.
The wind blows every day. It feels like it's at Sky Mountain. So my father's in here, Dale H. Larkin. That's Dale Herman Larkin. We're going to have some fun this morning because we're going to talk some St. George history. I mean, we're not talking 1800s, right, Dad?
Not quite.
But we're definitely talking early 40s. And so excited. I'm glad you said yes.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Jeremy.
Yeah. Now, he has the question, hey, is it short or long answers? Long answers, because people want to hear from you. I assure you people want to hear something from you this morning. So we've got my father here, Dale Larkin, and folks, listen to us Thursday mornings, 8:35 a.m., the St. George Real Estate Morning Drive program. I don't know a person who's ever talked to me about the program, this is just speaking, who didn't say, okay, that was edifying, right? Like, I learned something on our Thursday morning show. Yeah. And what's fun is we're having real estate agents who are our competitors say, dude, listen to your show every week. It's really great. And I said, you should listen to the show, and you should take whatever is valuable and run with it and use it to help your clients. And if you don't like what we say, that's okay too, right? Thursdays, 8:35 a.m. All right, Pop. I've never had the chance to say Pop on the air, right?
Well, this is your chance.
This is the moment. Okay. So I want you to give us some background here. Born in the early 40s. Check, right?
Yes.
Still on the planet, right? So, Dad, please tell us how long you've lived in St. George.
I've lived in St. George for 79 years.
79 years. You were gone one, besides, you served an LDS mission, right? In Guatemala. Central
America, huh?
How's your Spanish?
Keep it up.
Más o menos, yo creo que puedo hablar español un poquito.
No, sí. Por supuesto que sí. Él habla. So he does a good job. And so, I have a degree in Spanish interpretation and translation. We're going to talk about this because he actually spent 3 years in Spain.
Wow.
So can you please tell us, come on, everybody listening and watching today has, not everybody, but most of us have only a sense of the modern St. George. What was St. George like in the 1940s? And where did you physically exactly grow up? Where did you live?
Well, my folks had built a new home on 4th East, 47 South 4th East,
Commonly known as
called kitty corner from the Sunvolt.
Flood Street.
That was Flood Street, and I was born in 1941 along with my twin brother, Daryl. And we were raised right there on 4th East, and I lived in that home until I got married.
Is that, so, and the home is no longer there?
No, it's now a commercial business.
What year was that torn down?
You know, I don't remember exactly the year.
Would it have been 90s, early 90s?
Probably.
Mm-hmm. So I grew up going to this home, Grandma Montreux's home. So you grew up here in the 40s. What was life like? Give us a snapshot at, I realize, it's tough for all of us to remember 5 to 7 years old, but what was St. George like in 1945, 1950?
Well, you've got to remember that it was a very small town. It was about 4,000 people, and 4th East was basically on the east end of town. Mm-hmm. But it was a great time. I had great friends, and the adults in the neighborhood were just incredible people. It was just life like happy days, and it was that way all the way through the 50s, and I think I grew up at a remarkably wonderful time.
Did you, in at that time period, would you have known, adults did all the adults know almost everybody?
I remember thinking, if I saw someone, an adult, that I didn't know, it had to be someone visiting town, because we really did get to know people. It was a small community, and people were very social, and so we knew almost everyone.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were some we didn't know, but virtually the majority of the people we knew.
We teach you about this to this day, right?
That's right.
I'll say, Andy Griffin's on the radio. Now, which Griffin family is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't had that about you. Griffin would not have been a St. George name.
Escalante, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
And I've been to Escalante.
Oh, you bet he has. But how fun is that? But I get that, because Dad, even in the 1980s, we went to Frost Top, right? You went to Larson's Frost Top, and I remember when you went to Larson's Frost Top or Paula's Cazuela, which of course is 500 yards away from us now, but it was time up on the hill, right? It was a guarantee that we recognized half the people.
Oh yes, that was just part of the experience, because you were with people you knew and you loved and admired, and it was a great time.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Happy Days. I do remember watching Happy Days. But it was life in Happy Days. So Flood Street at one point was a dirt road. When did they pave that? Do you know?
I was probably 12, maybe early 50s, and the neat thing about Flood Street was when it rained, it became a bog. And so all the young guys with cars would do wheelies in the street, and it was wide enough that they could literally go in and have all kinds of fun. And the
spinning
street
around.
The street was just horrible. Then they had to bring a grader to straighten it out, because going up and down the street was like being out in the ambiance. It was really something when it rained, and when the kids did what they did.
Is that amazing? So the funny thing about that is when I was a kid, people were still going and putting a tube in on Flood Street, right? They'd go hop on a tube or some sort of a float, and when it would rain, it would fill up 2/3 of the width of the street, right?
That's true.
Maybe even 75% of the road was blocked. And then it feels like maybe around 2000, they went and they redid the street, they put those grates, those drains in that changed that. Okay, so this is pretty fun. If you didn't catch us, Jeremy Larkin here, host of the Life as We Know It program. Got my father here today. This is a lot of fun. Who was born and raised here in St. George. We're talking about life here in the 40s and 50s. You have a story that's my favorite story, by the way. You got to tell it on the air here really quick, Dad. Of Woodward School, class, group, ditching, the what ensued. Would you share, please? Would you share your most rebellious moment with this at 10 years old?
Now, I'm not sure what we're referring to here.
When you guys escaped,
the
prison.
Well, it was the 6th grade.
6th grade.
And we had a wonderful teacher, Mr. Cannon. We loved him. But one day he had a sub. I won't mention the name. Nobody would know him. But anyway, we had a sub, and so we didn't like him. And so at noon, when you go home for lunch, we just took off, 6 of us, and went up over the Black Hill, right about where we are, a little bit south of here, down by the D.
And was the school, I'm going to ask a quick question, It was the Woodward building that's still there.
Well, we were in the St. George Elementary, which was across the street. We were upstairs in the north.
Was that
East
that
corner?
annex building? They call it the
No, it
annex?
was just St. George Elementary.
Okay, so this is down to where the Washington County School District is. So you
Right.
6 take
Right-
off.
Yeah, right across the street, west from Woodbridge. So we took off, went up over the Black Hill, and when we got to the top of the hill, we looked down, and there were 4 or 5 cars on a little dirt road. And there were our parents and Mr. Worthen, the principal, waiting for us. And when we got down there, because we didn't have anywhere else to go, they took us back to his office, and he took us one by one. His office was much smaller than this room we're in right now. Sat right knee to knee with each one of us and gave us a good talking to. And
I was going to guess
sixth
it was a
grade
good
students.
talking to, and he said it.
The most interesting thing is I remember that when we golf over at Sunbrook, you get up on the point, you can look out over the valley.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, this is Scout's honor. When we looked down off that Black Hill, you could not see a home. There was not a home.
Not one
Not
single
one
house.
home. There was Ferg Wallace's dairy and a couple of corrals, but you could look all the way over to Santa Clara, and there was not a home in that valley west of the Black Hill. That would have been 1940, 1950, about 1950, 51. How old are you when you're in 6th grade?
10. I call it 10, 10 or 11. 10 or 11.
1951.
11, yeah. Can you imagine? Jesse is hiding behind the camera. You're a real estate guy. Can you imagine not one single home on that side of this ridge behind us?
And now
It's impossible.
If you go up there now,
Yeah, that's now 50%.
wherever you go and you look at
St.
that
George.
valley, is full. You know, it's just full of homes. People.
It's so fun because having my dad on here, and I tease him about being an old guy, but here's the fun part about my father, and for those who know him, these are young old guys, right? So I grew up golfing with my dad. I had the benefit of being the youngest in my family. And one of the things that I've always said, and this is sad for my siblings who are probably listening, too bad for you, but the way economics work in most families is the youngest generally wins, because by that time, dad and mom typically are further along in career stuff.
Yeah,
Financially, you get more time. So we golfed a little more, right? So I grew up golfing with my dad. And I think I was about 12 years old, 11 years old. We started going to Bloomington Country Club, which Bloomington Country Club is, it's not like rich people went there. It was, good grief. I think of the fees that were paid back then.
It was very reasonable.
It's hardly anything, right? But I started playing golf with you and your friends. And Dad, some of my fondest memories are playing golf with Dale Larkin and Daryl Larkin and Kevin Kirkland and McKay Christian. And of course, over the years, then it became Carl Wrigley and all these other guys. But this is I want you got to know something, Dad. Those are fond memories for me. And Larry Belliston. And then I played with Troy. And Troy is over in Washington City. Everyone knows Troy. That was my childhood. That was important to me, right?
What was important to me as your father too.
Yeah, it's pretty
We
fun.
had a good time.
So, okay, let's transition here. This is really fun because life as we know it, we're talking about life as we know it, living here in St. George and how and we've had all these transplants come in and speak, but now we have a true local. You had a business, which was, forever it was Larkin Plumbing and Heating.
Yeah.
And it became L&L Mechanical. They kind of graduated the name, right, which is now owned by my cousin Darren, who's an awesome guy and one of my close friends. How did that start? Because there's some cool history here.
Well, my father came to St. George in the early 1930s. My father and mother, they moved here as newlyweds. He went to work for Thompson Plumbing and got an opportunity to go into business himself, and so he started Larkin Plumbing and Heating. And the rest is history. It went from the Larkins to the Hersheys and back to the Larkins. And Scott Hershey, one of our
A lot of
former
people know Scott,
city
probably our listeners.
gurus, one of the guys that's been very influential in the city, worked for us, and then he started his own business, Ace Plumbing. So it went Thompson, Larkin, Ace, Larkin, and then he started Ace again. Did very well. But my dad was killed in 1948 in an airplane crash going to Salt Lake City. He and his brother.
Private plane.
Yeah, he and his brother were both killed. And it was a tough time for my mother. Obviously, the business went in different hands at that time, and anyway, it came back around to Gray and I years later when we bought it from Ace Plumbing, who bought it from somebody else, and so.
These guys, he can't toot his own horn, but I will. There were a lot of businesses kind of spun off of L&L, Larkin Plumbing. And I've talked to these people. You need to know this. I've had Kelly Paxman. I've had these guys say this to me, Dad. Oh, we owe your dad and your Uncle Gray everything. And people who started, you know, the DeMills with A1, people who worked for L&L and then they spun off, they said, and here's what they always said, and I want you to know something. I lost someone from our office about 2 years ago, 18 months, 2 years ago when Robert
Year ago.
We thought Robert was going to be with us until we died, we hoped. And Robert came in and said, I'm going to transition. And then Jeff came in and said, I'm going to transition. And I want to give you credit. I said to these guys, I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful that you want to go and spread your wings. You should go pursue that opportunity. And they were blown away. And what I said was, I learned from my dad. And my dad said to those guys, correct me if I'm wrong, when he would kind of raise these guys in the heating, plumbing, heating, air conditioning business, mainly commercial, and then, or gray wood, right? And then they would graduate. And these guys always said, go, man, spread your wings. And that is such a great business philosophy. Dad, when I went down to Las Vegas, do you remember about 2 years ago, I got a photo of the old Larkin Plumbing in Vegas? It said since 1938, I think is what it said.
No, it wouldn't be quite that old, but it would
said
be.
70, I don't know.
See, Larkin Plumbing didn't start quite that early. It was about the early 40s when my
Early
dad.
40s. Okay, early 40s. Maybe it said a number of years on the sign. But I was cruising through old industrial Las Vegas. Why would I be there besides to do like a drug deal? We had some extra time on our hands and started roaming and pulled up. And here were all the old sign and the Larkin Plumbing trucks. But I didn't tell you.
And Larkin Plumbing in Las Vegas was obviously an offshoot from Larkin Plumbing in St. George because my dad's brothers started Larkin Plumbing in Las Vegas after he was killed. So
What did they call your dad? He had a nickname.
the singing plumber.
Herman, the singing plumber.
Really?
He wore coveralls, and on the back of his coveralls it says, "The singing plumber."
Yeah.
On all of his coveralls.
So good.
So wherever he went, he was singing and just the happiest soul.
I was in a hurry this morning. I was going to bring a book in here that talks about some of his memories that Cousin Reed wrote. Such incredible history. His father, who of course I'd been killed in 1948. I mean, you were 7 years old, right?
That's right.
Two things. The memories written up by your mother at that time are, I mean, if you can read this journal of her finding out her husband passed with all these kids, she lost a husband and
2 sons.
in what period of time?
Well, she lost Royden in 1935 and Lynn in 1951 and my dad in 1948.
Can you imagine? Right.
So she was left with 5 of us to raise.
In the 50s.
But she did very well.
Oh,
she was
incredible.
a remarkable lady.
She was incredible.
Yeah.
So, you know, but his father, so the original Larkin Plumbing, was that where Capoletti's is now?
Right there on Tabernacle Street, about 50 East Tabernacle.
If you come in my office, I have this beautiful framed picture, and it's one of his business cards. How do you guys get those business cards? I don't know, you just found them somewhere?
I don't remember.
It's an original business card of
Yeah.
Herman the Singing Plumber, you know, and a picture of him in front of his plane. It's really neat. But it is in front, and there's a picture of Larkin Plumbing, the old what is Capoletti's now?
Yeah,
Okay,
when you
Dad.
walk into that floor in that building,
Is
is the same
it's
floor.
the same floor.
Back in the 40s.
You got to go over there and eat. We're going to take our office
50s.
over. I want to share a quick memory with you. What do we got for time, Andy? 4 minutes. So growing up, we grew up on 600 East. And if people have not seen, there's a video that's floated on YouTube forever, which is the history of our company and Mike growing up here. But I grew up on 6th East down by what was East Elementary. So 525 South, 600 East until I was 10. And then when I was at 10, we moved 2 blocks directly south into Morningside Park. So our whole life was on a 7-block strip of 600 East. And L&L Mechanical / Larkin Plumbing was at the top of 600, where the new, what's that build? Next to Taco Bell, what do they call it? Student housing?
650.
650, whatever they call that giant student housing across the street from the cemetery.
Oh, right.
Most of the inside of that block was Larkin Plumbing. And Dad, my most cherished memory as a child was riding my bike, scooter, feet up 600 East in the summer, visiting with cousin Brandon or whomever, going to dad's shop, mowing the lawns, going in all these shops, sheet metal shop, just being kids, making stuff, breaking stuff, mayhem. But being part of going there, and dad was always at his office, and you would always leave really early in the morning, and he always had an instant breakfast.
That's right.
Yeah.
I had to be to work by 6 o'clock.
Would you go to the office and then come home and grab a little bite to eat after?
No, I don't remember that I did that.
Huh.
I think I just went and stayed.
He was an early.
Maybe I went sometimes home.
6 a.m. because that's when the guys would go out, right?
Yeah. That's when the guys would start to work.
Why, as we wrap up, why did you stay here? Because this guy, you've lived in Spain for 3 years. You've been a very successful businessman. This is not some old timer that just hung around. Why did you stay?
Because in my opinion, this is the greatest place in the whole world. I can't imagine living anywhere else. There's nowhere else I want to be. And I've been Central America and Spain and a lot of other places, but there's no place like home. And this truly is the greatest place to live.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I think it is. We all ended up here, right? And it's not perfect, but what's perfect, right?
That's right. But it's the best. I can't imagine a place any better.
No. And I look at my childhood as being idyllic, and my childhood was obviously 30 years later. You know what I mean? So, right? I mean, I was born in 75, and your childhood was the 40s, mine was the 70s and 80s. 35, 40 years later. So, folks, this has been such a fun interview and chat with my father, Dale Larkin, who was born and raised here. His brother, Daryl, is still floating out here playing golf. You can catch Dale and Daryl most days, not most days, quite a few days a week at Green Springs Golf Course, or maybe some other golf course. Do you love it? How many days a week do you play golf now?
I try to play a couple times a week.
I tell people I try to ride my bike only every day, right? Only every single day. I'm grateful for you, Pop.
I'm grateful for you, son.
I appreciate
Same way.
it. I know that everybody, well, not everybody says that about their dad. We actually know that. He brings so much history, so much. So share this one with your friends. This has been so great. Carson Hunt talking about, man, I should point out that your dad has been a very big influence in my life. You have a great father, Carson Hunt. Right? So he's a great
That's
guy.
kind of Carson. He's a great guy, too.
Bennett Brooks, these are good old days. Oh, you're not kidding, man. Like growing up here. Super funny story was floating around last week on the internet. A guy who coaxed a band into St. George, The Offspring, a band who is now The Offspring. They sold 40 million records in the punk rock realm. 1987, coaxing these guys to come and play a show here. Sold St. George as a Vegas satellite scene. Such a funny story, but what it made me think of is that's how it used to be. You can't, this is what it was. So
it's always been a great place to be.
Yeah, it has. All right, Pop, thank you for coming on. Guys, listen to us 8:35 Thursday morning. We're going to give you more fun insights, tips, tricks on buying a home, selling a home, understanding the real estate market. I promise you'll come out smarter than before the show. Over and out.